All right, we realize the game isn't over, but let's be honest, the game has been over for a very, very long time. It is Project Game Day, PressBox's Project Game Day. Rita will be with us in a minute. I'm Glenn. Andrew Steck is hanging out, and of course, Super Bowl 35 champion, our guy, Mr. Femi Ayanbadejo, is with us. And Femi, I'm figuring that for at least as long as you can be here, we just pretty much do a Keaton Mitchell show, right? Like that's what this is going to be.
I mean, it has to be. I mean, we've been talking about him for a couple of weeks. I think early on, I saw something special in Keaton, I wasn't the only one that saw it. Like we all kind of saw that this kid was different, explosive, agility, balance, speed, and he put that out there today. So we were talking for a while back about a difference maker. He's in the building. We knew this. Thank goodness, and I can't wait to see what the future holds for this young man. Very proud of what he did today.
It's not the only story of today, obviously. There's a ton of stories of today. But to your point, Femi, I do think it's one that sort of smacks you in the face right now. And I'm not trying to be too down on Justice Hill. And I know, as you've talked about, and it's a shame that Rita's not here yet because I would love to have you guys continue your banter about the mesh point. But I don't know how else there is to say it
There,
right
there's no
now.
discussion. There's no discussion.
Yeah.
There's no discussion. I told you I played running back in the NFL for 11 years.
Bro,
I know how this works.
I'm not
So I
arguing.
understand. I don't care about optics. Optics is irrelevant. I know what a play is supposed to look like. And Justice Hill gets a little handsy at the mesh point, and it's on Lamar. It's Lamar's decision. It's not up to him. It's up to Lamar. And Justice Hill has not figured that out, and it's a problem. And by the way, we're going to be nitpicky because that's what we do, and we're spoiled because we have an amazing franchise in Baltimore. But we expect perfection, and they've been giving us pretty damn close. So we're trying to find things to discuss. Justice Hill should no longer be involved in anything zone read related. End of story. Game over. That's all I
I
have to say
think
about that.
I think Femi, the next question is should Justice Hill sort of maybe be a little bit less in the picture as far as the running back rotation is
I'm
concerned?
not. I'm not going to say that, but we know there's limited amounts of time. And if I'm looking at the backfield right now, we know that Gus Edwards is a unappreciated monster. And we know that Keaton Mitchell is a young lion that is about to make his claim. And so, with that being said, I like what we have right now. I like having options because you're only one injury away from having a guy down. So, no, Justice Hill should still play. Justice Hill should still be involved. But the featured guy needs to be Gus, and the next guy needs to be Keaton Mitchell.
The change
Period.
of pace back. I think I'm
Yes.
with you, and I think that going into the play, if presuming everybody stays healthy, it feels like that's the trajectory that this team is on right now. It feels like they're on the trajectory. By the time they get to the playoffs, those are your two primary guys. Again, we can't predict the future, but at the moment, it just feels like that's where it's headed.
I'm so reluctant to make long-term decisions because the NFL is week to week. You've said this, Rita said this, we all know this.
Yeah.
But if everything remains, this is the thing. Like things change so quickly. Like Lamar got tweaked today. He did. He got rolled like the way he got rolled up on. Like that's how
Yep.
close. I mean, that could have been an ankle. That could have been an ACL. That could be a season-ending injury. And it doesn't mean that you're injury prone. Football is dangerous. Things happen. So with that being said, whether it's quarterback or running back, I'm not going to write anybody off. I love this locker room. I love the guys in the building, and they all have a role to play, and that role can increase or decrease based on needs and availability. Period. End of story.
All right. It is the Project Game Day post game show. I am Glenn. That's Femi. OKZ's hopping in. He just wants to go off about Keaton Mitchell, too, because he's very fired up about it. I'll get to him in a minute. Today's show brought to you by Superbook Sports, AJ Michaels, and helpmygamblingproblem.org. Remember, if you or a loved one has a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER or go to helpmygamblingproblem.org for free confidential services. Femi, I think big picture, this thing, the dominance of the NFC, right? Lamar Jackson now being 18-1 against the NFC. How do we? I struggled with this week. I had a couple conversations with folks where like I can't dismiss that number, right? That number is crazy, but how much of it is the idea that somebody isn't used to him or haven't seen him in a while or they're not adjusted to it versus Lamar Jackson is just really good. He wins a lot of games against a lot of teams and the Ravens are really good. I am struggling with what the line is between those two things.
No, don't struggle, Glenn. You hit all of it. It's all true. All of it's true. All of it is in the mix and explains why it is what it is. You're completely 100% correct. You're asking a question, but you already answered your question.
Yeah.
It's everything that you just said, and I'm not going to bore us with the details. What you said is 100% accurate. It's the unfamiliarity. It's the fact that Lamar wins a lot of football games. It's all of it. So that's why he's hard to solve, and that's why the NFC has problems because they don't see him very often.
Is it do we take any of this with a grain of salt and say, hey, we need to see this against the Bengals. We need to see this against the Steelers. We need to see this against the Browns. Do we do anything like that?
No, we don't need to because those things take care of themselves, and there's a lot of familiarity there. What makes me excited, though, is if the Ravens make it to a Super Bowl and they face a team that has never seen Lamar. That is a very hard puzzle to solve. Now, I don't
Man,
want to get out front of my skis, and I won't because, I take it week to week. It's a week to week league. But I'm finally starting to feel like, okay, these dudes are different. And I always knew they had the potential, but now I'm really seeing it. And I hate to say it, I'm getting a little excited. I'm getting a little, I'm having aspirations of grandeur. You know what I'm saying?
but I feel like that's going to be the talking point this week, right? I feel like there
Yeah,
is going to be a talking
yeah.
point of, are the Ravens announcing themselves right now as the best team in football? I think those of us here like kind of get icky when we hear that. Like, hey, let's not talk about that. Let's not. No, come on, that's crazy. That's silly. Let's not do that. But based on these two performances in the last 3 weeks against teams that we think are pretty good, it feels like it's a warranted conversation to have about who the most complete team in football is at the moment.
I think nuance matters. I think getting carried away with closed end statements is a problem. So I won't do any of that. But they have been a Super Bowl contender since Lamar's been quarterback. So that's not a new thing. But we know that people are victims of the moment. They get caught up in what happened last week, what happened last year, what happened 4 weeks ago. Dude's injury prone. He's a running back. Like that, all that BS is irrelevant to me because it's nonsensical. We live in a world today where people are about clicks and a short-term memory, and I don't operate in any of that stuff. So I've seen the Ravens for what they are, but I'm cautiously optimistic, and I'm an analyst. I critique every detail, and everything I think about is about winning a Super Bowl. So with that being said, this is the first week where I feel like they have done it over the long term, which is half a season. They have been very hard to beat at home. Lamar has played the best football of his career, and PFF, next gen stats,
Yeah.
and every other metric gathering system bodes that out. So it's not just a feeling, it's a real data driven thing at this point, and it's a feeling. It feels damn good. But am I assuming and conceding and that I'm going to predict stuff? No, I'm not. I'm taking it week to
Right.
week, and they have a very serious schedule coming up. So, but I'm very, very happy and excited with where they are. And we knew last week was probably rest related, recovery, resilience related, going to London. I mean, you look at what the Ravens have done over the last 4 weeks, man. It's pretty amazing to just look at the outcomes. I tip my cap at the moment, but I'm not satisfied, but I tip my cap.
I know you brought that up last week, and it was brought up on the broadcast. The amount of travel, everything they've been through, that like it does add to this. That they have, in their own way, faced some adversity in these last few weeks, and I do think that's meaningful. Only because I don't know how long you can stay with us. I want to knock out a couple more things with you. Then I'm
Yeah,
going to then I'll let Ken try to fire the coach after they won again by 40
yeah, yeah.
points today.
Ken,
Then
tell
I'll
Ken good luck with that. Tell Ken good
then,
luck with that.
then I'll go. Then I'll get to that. Ronnie Stanley. Any concern at all? It's
I
not been.
mean, it we had two turnovers again today that are problematic, but I'm not gonna rain on that parade because I've been saying this for 9 weeks now. The Ravens are in the middle of the pack on turnover differential, and the thing that decides games are turnovers. And because they're so damn good on defense and offense right now, they're able to they're able to overcome their own mistakes. And it's still a problem in my mind, but man, they're so disciplined right now. The operation is clean. The defensive penalties, offensive penalties are at a minimum. They're really showing me something right now. And I just know football's not perfect. And the older I get and the more that I watch, the more mistakes and things that I see. So I err on the side of being critical, but I also have to recognize that everybody has a hard time winning on the road. Everybody has a hard time being first place in their division. Everyone's going to have a hard time playing anybody from the AFC North. With all that being said, I have to be a little giddy about where they are, but like I said,
I
not
get it.
satisfied.
I get it. And I don't want to come down. I still think the Ravens are better suited when Ronnie Stanley's on the field, right? Like I think.
Oh, no. Yeah. Ronnie Stanley is a really, really good football player, but he clearly
Yeah.
has had more lapses lately than he had earlier on. But I think we know why that is. And I believe he's going to continue to work. I think he's a very high quality left tackle still. His contract and where he's getting paid is probably equivalent with the quality of play at this point. He's not the highest paid left tackle anymore. I don't know what happens when his contract is up, but he's a pretty damn good football player.
He is a very good football player. It's just been a couple of little issues in these last couple of weeks. That's it. And,
Agreed.
I
Agreed.
get it. Like this dude, today, Leonard Williams, Boye Mafe, those guys are both playing really
Yeah,
good
he's
right
going
now.
against the
So,
best of the best, but he's also one of the best. So he should be locking those guys down. But when you play left tackle, you've got to pitch a shutout. Like you can't give up a score. And a score is a
right,
sack or a hit or a fumble.
right.
So you got to pitch a shutout, which is a high bar. But left tackles are supposed to be the best offensive linemen on the planet, so we expect that, and they get paid for it. So it is what it is.
Odell Beckham finally getting a touchdown at the end of the
I
game.
missed it. I missed it, dude.
All
I was
right.
in the car, like, yeah. So
So that was good, but at the same time, before the half, when the game still had a little intrigue at
yeah,
that
I
point,
know that was the other turnover. That was the other turnover.
I don't know what to say. Is it he knows
No, you
better?
know what to say. He knows better. That ball,
Okay.
like, come on, man. What are we doing?
Yeah, you can't
That's
do
like,
that. You
yeah,
can't do
no,
that.
that's just. I don't even know what he was. I don't know what he was thinking, but because of who he is, I'm gonna lecture him behind closed doors, even though we're not behind closed doors right now. But you know what I'm saying.
I understand that. It's one of those like you'll live. He's Odell Beckham. He's not going to be cut because he was, but it just can't happen. You
It
can't.
was careless. It was careless. It was
It's almost
careless.
insane that he's the guy doing that, right? Like, really, you're the guy doing that in that moment. But I know it was a big deal for him to get the touchdown. What else was
Yeah.
on your what else was on your hit list from today, other than life is good?
I mean, can we finally say that we have a full blown, high quality pass rusher in Justin Madubuike? My man is on pace for 17 sacks, I think. So we need to stop talking about pass rushers. We need to stop getting carried away with nonsensical stuff and just really wrap our arms around who we have in this locker room, and that this is what we got and that's all we have and it's all we need.
Man,
As long as they
man,
stay healthy, you know what I'm saying? We're good.
Montez Sweat just cost the Bears $25 million a year. That might be the water that Justin Madubuike starts swimming in towards, right? Like he's been that good this season that he is swimming into some almost absurd numbers in terms of what he's going to get in free agency.
The Ravens are having generational type success on defense right now. Some of the things they're doing has not been seen in 10, 15, 17 years. There's some numbers that they have in this kind of offensive time period where everything is geared toward protecting the quarterback and protecting offenses. And the Ravens defense are breaking records right now. Some incredible stuff. And Justin Madubuike is the leader of that defensive front. And don't get it twisted. There's a lot of guys. Kyle Van Noy had a hell of a game today. There's a lot of guys contributing, and I love that. The wealth is being spread out. So if one guy goes down, because our success is not predicated on one man. It's predicated
Right.
on the defense playing in the system. The system right now is the MVP, not any one individual, in my professional opinion.
Oh, it is so nerve-wracking that Mike McDonald is going to end up getting a job, man. Like,
I know.
it is
Yeah, I
so
know.
nerve-wracking
Hey,
that
we got
he's
to
going to
win. We
get a
got to
job.
win now. We got to win now. We got to win now. That's
All
what it
right,
comes down to.
but before you have to duck, I want to bring Ken in
I
so
got
he
two
can attempt.
minutes.
I want
got 2 minutes.
want Ken. I want him to attempt to fire the coach while you're still here.
Femi, do you play fantasy football?
I do.
Who's the number one waiver wire pickup of this week?
Oh, I have no idea.
It's
Keaton
Keaton
Mitchell?
Mitchell.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, I said it
It's
before you
gonna
said
be
it. So yeah.
it's going to be Keaton Mitchell. I just he's different. He's different.
We've been, hey, we've been saying this
You
for
and
a
I
couple
have
weeks
been
now.
on the same lately.
Yeah.
You and
So
I have been agreeing.
this doesn't surprise me. I said that if you're not going to go get the guys that we talked about, I'm not even going to say their names anymore because it's irrelevant. But
Right.
the other guy was in the locker room, and we all agreed on that, which I'm really happy about. We all saw this coming. And before you came on, I actually said this. I said, hey, we all been kind of talking about this, especially you and I, that the dude that is the most important non-available player at this moment, his name is Keaton Mitchell, and when he is available, he's going to be a difference maker. And today he proved that. So,
Man,
Yeah, no,
is-
it was nice that he got some touches. I know that everybody's going to talk about the touchdown run, but the 60-yard run where he broke the 3 tackles later in the game is one of the better runs I've seen from a Ravens running back in a while.
I thought he
no,
might have
he's
cut it.
different.
I thought he might have cut it back too much towards the middle. I thought he was trying too hard there, and then it gave a terrible angle in the process. But Jesus, after 60 yards, man. What the hell am I going to complain about at that point?
Nah, he's different. You see when he has the ball in his hand, it's different. It's a whole different thing. You know what I mean? So
Femi, you saw it real quick before you go, because you saw something that I said on Twitter too. Somebody, Sai, had responded to me and said his balance was really impressive. And there was one run where he took on contact immediately at the line of scrimmage and his pace didn't change at all. His pace through contact is something that maybe as much as I knew about his speed, I was not aware of that element of his game, which was really exciting to me too.
yeah, I mean he's just different. You know, it's you know it when you see it. And as a person who evaluates talent all the time, the first time I saw him, I was like, this dude's different. I just knew it. You know what I mean? And there's a bunch of guys over the years that I've seen where I've been like, okay, these guys are different, and I can just tell. And there's something about his balance, his size. He reminds me he's a little smaller than Ray Rice, but he's kind of got that shiftiness, and he's got a little JK in him too. It's like Ray Rice and JK combined as Keaton Mitchell. And I don't mean that like as it being better. It's just like those two dudes, the way they play, and they're similar. JK and Ray are similar. And I think Keaton is similar, kind of that like 5'7", 5'8", 5'9", 205, 10 pounds, hard to bring down, breakaway speed. Like these dudes are just different guys, and that's how I see it.
Right, but still capable between the tackles despite their size.
Oh,
like
absolutely.
Still
power and speed. Can do everything. Justice Hill is kind of an outside guy. What's my man?
Who are you trying to think of?
Gus Edwards. It's more of a
between the tackles. Yeah.
Yeah, but he's deceptively quick, but you don't look at him and go, okay, he's going to run outside zone and he's going to run these pitches and tosses, no. But with Keaton, I feel like you can just give him the ball like 3 downs and he's going to figure it out. Now, I don't know what his pass protection skills are like. It looks like he can catch the ball pretty well. He's a 3-down back.
It's exciting, man. All right, Rita's here. So before you leave, do you want to fight with Rita anymore about?
No. We're good. We're good.
No, we're good. Well, see, Femi, you see how Glenn is? He real messy.
Rita,
we made peace in the text chat.
They won by 40 points today. I need somebody to fight about something. What the hell else are we gonna do?
No, because this is what Rita, this is what Glenn does. He doesn't like it when everyone's happy. He needs to create a little bit of a little gaslighting, as he likes to say. I got you trying to gaslight me, bro. No gaslighting. Just gas. That's you, Glenn. Just gas. You know what I'm saying?
I got plenty of that.
Guess what? I gotta go. I got my daughters with me. I gotta go. I gotta roll.
All right, tell your daughter we said hi. All right.
Tell her we said hi.
Hey,
have fun in San Diego.
Yes, enjoy it.
All right, guys.
Love you, brother.
That's our
guy.
Yes,
That's
sir.
our guy, Femi Ayanbadejo. Femi will be with me. We're going to be doing the show. Rita, unfortunately, she'll still be on the show next week, just won't be with us. We're going to be live. Towson University is hosting a huge Veterans Day party next Sunday and celebrating veterans. And Femi and I are going to be there, and we're going to host our part of the show live from Towson next Sunday, which will be really cool. So if you want an opportunity to come out and meet a Super Bowl champion, it is right there in the Student Union at Towson University. Just swing by, and Femi is going to come by in the second half. We'll watch. Maybe, Ken, this is the opportunity that we've been waiting for you two to watch a game together.
You know what, Glenn? I'm going to try and make this happen.
I love this. I love this.
And I need you to record this for me, Glenn. I need
right? I am looking forward to that. What company has the expertise and technology to make your home substantially more energy efficient, comfortable, and even virus-free? It's AJ Michaels Heating and Air Conditioning in Baltimore and Annapolis at ajmichaels.com. Rita, what we've been talking about for a little while, I think that you and I tend to feel the same way about these things. Like, I get allergic to the idea of like, are the Ravens the best team in football? Like, no, come on, stop it. We're not doing that, right? Really, are we? But what we've seen the last couple weeks, which guarantees nothing about the future. Like, I can't tell you what's going to happen next week or the week after that. But are we wrong to think that it's possible that the Ravens right now might be the best and most complete team in the NFL?
No. And I think that it's a fair conversation to have. So here's the thing. I think, Glenn, you, me, whoever else, we don't like to have these conversations because we believe that we're jinxing teams when we say these types of things. But when people give you reason to believe that they are as advertised, when do we start speaking, allowing the tongue to speak itself into existence and saying, hey, this is the thing? Because see, and this is what I mean by that, Glenn. We're in, what is this, week 9? We're in week 9. So we're midway of the NFL season. Obviously, there's 8 more games that's going to be played at some point down the stretch. That being said, the weaknesses that the Ravens had, I feel, have happened. Happened in the Colts game, happened in the Steelers game. And I feel like that they're aware of those weaknesses and they've done their best to mitigate those weaknesses.
Okay.
And so I know it feels premature to have those conversations because there's 8 more games to be played. So I understand the logic of not speaking too soon. And I think that we feel like if we say these things too soon, there's too much football left to be played to turn our opinions about this. But when you start looking at who they play down the stretch, well, they've already beaten the Bengals. They've already beaten the Browns. Those are their next 2 opponents. They then go to San Diego. LA.
Yeah, right. We'll do it forever.
LA don't know because that's I pulled the KZ because KZ will call them San Diego until the day he dies. They are not. We don't know who they want to be when they show up. They got to play Jacksonville, who obviously they turned their corner against the Ravens last year, but this Ravens team last year is not the Ravens team now. When do we start accepting that this team is a very good football team and they have the potential of making a run? Now, obviously, I don't think that they're going to not lose another game. I don't think that they're the 2019 team, but ultimately, too, I think that that's okay. I think that that's okay. When you start looking at the rest of the league, I don't know if you guys watched the game earlier, Miami and Kansas City. I was not impressed by neither one of those football teams. I mean, they're good football teams. I'm not denying that, but they don't look dominant. And those are the 2 teams. One was a Super Bowl, is a reigning Super Bowl champion. One is a team that many people want to tout that is yet to beat a team over 500. So I'm not impressed by that. Philadelphia, every time I feel like I want to be impressed by them, they play Washington and they somehow end up in a dogfight. So I don't know what to feel about these other teams. So why is it a bad thing for us to feel good about the Baltimore Ravens and feel like that they can contend essentially with anybody in this league? And that's where I'm starting to turn that corner, Glenn, and I'm starting to feel I'm not going to get cocky with it and be like, oh, there's nobody that can beat the Ravens, because that's not how football works. It just doesn't work that way. But what they're doing right now, to me, especially with Lamar in the pocket, even though his numbers won't tell you because he didn't technically throw touchdowns, but how precise he was today, to me, what they're doing tells me that this is a problem for every NFL team. For every NFL team out there. And that's where I'm at.
I think that what you said, and let's go to Ken next because Ken is the harshest critic, right? We all know this.
HWO Ken. Go on, Ken.
I think the point about if you're looking for perfection, the standard isn't perfection, right? Like the standard is flawed football teams in a salary capped sport. And amongst flawed football teams, if you want to say, hey, look, I'll still at the end of the day prefer to have Patrick Mahomes as my quarterback because he's Patrick Mahomes, like I'll hear that, right? I'll listen to that. But as far as complete football teams that do many things well, Ken, I'm struggling to not feel at the moment. Maybe Philadelphia, you could make the argument for me as far as complete is concerned.
I just told you that they can't. When it comes to lesser teams, they don't know. They finish, but barely.
I hear you.
Saying. They're not dominant against teams that they're lesser than.
So I'm gonna say it this way because Reeta, you said it very, very well. I'm gonna tell you after Philly plays Dallas today, I'm gonna tell you. Yep. I'm gonna tell you what I think and who it is. But right now, maybe Philly, maybe Dallas, and their NFC teams. The Ravens are as good as anyone because they play defense as good as anyone. Lamar is special. If Keaton Mitchell, and I don't mean to oversell it, but if he becomes that extra weapon for this team, tell me what they don't have. I know before the trade deadline, I would have loved to add another pass rusher because I just think we're relying on some guys that are a little long in the tooth for me. Down the stretch and playing a lot of snaps right now. And can they keep this up? And if they do, great, because they're not missing anything. But I don't, and I still keep to my heart, like, none of this matters to me until the playoffs, because I expect them to make the playoffs. I expect them to contend for a Super Bowl. I expect them to contend for the division. I don't know who's even close to them as complete a team in the NFL right now, based on what we've now seen for 9 weeks. Yes, they had the 2 hiccups, the 2 games they should have won. They could be easily undefeated right now. They are what they are. 7-2 is what they are. But like Reeta said, maybe it's because they traveled, but that second half, Miami are almost scare me to death. Seattle, what was Seattle coming in 5-2? People were talking about them as one of the top 3 or 4 NFC teams. They got embarrassed. They didn't do anything.
Gino's he's turning into a pumpkin. I mean, we do have to address that at some point. Like, it was an amazing story last year, but
yes, but you look at that. Gino is a serviceable quarterback. Walker's a really good running back. Their wide receiver core is not only veteran based, they're good, and they have a young guy who many people thought was the number 1 overall wide receiver coming out of the draft. Defensively, they're
loaded at every level. Yeah,
they're loaded at every level. They just dismantled this team on both sides of the ball. So give me another team in the NFL that's going to play another really good team that's dismantling them like that, and I can't give it to you. I like to be critical, and I believe in my heart I'm critical for the right reasons. But right now you can't see a weakness because they're playing their best football against what many people are telling us, and statistically, as Femi said, are some of the best teams in the NFL, and they're just dominating them. So I don't think we should be scared by it. They're one of the 4 best teams in the NFL right now.
All right,
I don't know anybody. I don't know if you can name 4 others that you would say are better right now.
I don't think there's a chance in hell that you could do that. Andrew, are we getting too far in front of ourselves? Should we settle down a little bit?
No, yes and no. I mean, mostly no. I don't think so. I think this is a really good team, but I think they're kind of where we would have hoped and thought they could be. So I'm not going to let the fact that they're here right now, I'm not going to get above myself and say, oh wow, I'm shocked that this team is now 7-2 with 2 bad losses, quote unquote bad losses. They could probably be a 9-0 football team right now. They are.
I was getting ready to say, Andrew, I was going to ask you, are you not shocked because you feel like that they should be undefeated at this point?
Should be is not the right word, because it's the NFL. It's a week to week league, as we always say.
All right.
Like, you're gonna honestly, when they lost that game to Indy, I kind of expected them to struggle in that game, because it was just like one of those, all right, you've had a good 2-0 start. They were coming off of that win against Cincinnati on the road, which, Joe Burrow obviously wasn't fully healthy at that point, but like, I kind of expected. And then the Steelers game, I always expect a rock fight. So like, I didn't really expect them. I don't go into a lot of these games expecting to win. The way that this has surprised me, I think, the most is, and Glenn, you talked a lot about this kind of leading into the season and even through the first few weeks, is it's more of a macro conversation than the micro, but you talked about that pendulum swinging perhaps more to the offense than the defense.
Couldn't have been more wrong about that.
Well, not only that, but like, it's interesting because Mike McDonald comes in here last year, and you were bringing him up earlier, and like got this defense, especially after the Roquan acquisition, really, really humming. And I think we all kind of expected maybe a little bit of a not a step back, but just like a swing back to the equilibrium of they were so good last year. Maybe they won't be quite to that level, but they can still be a good defense with playmakers, cough, cough, Geno Stone, like, that can force turnovers and make plays, but just hang in because of the way that the NFL is going in terms of offense. But if you take that macro step back, the NFL is it's a little bit of a mind F this season because scoring is so down. Defenses are better across the board throughout the NFL than they have been over the last few years. It's been a real talking point in terms of the national media that covers this league. And the Ravens have a defense that is among the best of those flatline really good defenses, and the offense is the one that's almost doing enough. I'm still wanting a little bit more from this offense, but also I'm still realizing that they're 9 games in under a new coordinator, so I'm fine with what's going on right now.
I think that's an interesting point that, like, and this maybe is where, Reeta, like, the measurement against a Joe Burrow that's right coming up in 2 weeks, because I think we all recognize that the Joe Burrow, that it doesn't take anything away from the fact they won, but he wasn't fully right. So if you want to say that what's missing from these 2 games in particular is a quarterback playing, like, if we say the measuring stick so far is they played 2 NFC teams that we think are really good. But in fairness, it's Jared Goff and Geno Smith, neither of whom we thought was playing their best football.
And they're 2 home games for the Ravens, like
fair,
where
right?
they've
although the Bengals game will be at home too at that point,
and it'll be a Thursday night game too, which makes it even harder on the traveling team.
Yes, exactly. And not only that, they played on a Sunday night last year. Healthy Joe Burrow, healthy Lamar Jackson. It's not like they
I guess
it's been done before.
I guess my question would be, if there is a concern, and again, we're going back to nitpicking because they're winning by 40 points, and so this is just what we're doing and talking in context, is there still some element of what Andrew said? Would you like to see them have a big, be tested in a game where the defense can't dominate their opponent the same way, where the offense has to score 34 points when they need to get the ball in the fourth quarter with drives that are alive?
I don't. I would like them to win by 40 every game. I'm just going to go on.
No. I trust me. If you can do that all season long, I'm all for it.
Then what was? Wait. Are we okay? Are you asked? Okay. So what was the Lions game? Are we saying that the defense played well and that the offense? I'm confused here.
I'm not saying the offense. I'm saying the point of the offense isn't being asked. Right now, it's playing good offense when your defense is dominant is wonderful, right? Is there a different level to, if you have to go score every time you touch the ball in the second half, the way that a lot of people think it might get to in these AFC playoffs when you look around at who the quarterbacks are going to be? Would it be nice to see them win a game doing that? Play a team.
I don't care about that. I don't care. I don't. I'm sorry, y'all. I don't care about that. This defense is good. Why do I want them to be something that they're not? And as of right now, this defense is good, and this offense is also holding their end of the bargain.
But I think that's the point. I think no, Reeta. Let me.
What are we asking for?
I think that's the point Glenn's trying to make. The what you just said about the offense, they're doing what they need to do, and if you look at the 2 losses, if the offense scores 20 points in either of those 2 losses, they win. But they didn't. They scored 19 and they scored 10 in the 2 losses. You scored 20 points with this defense that you've got right now, you're probably going to win. That's some Ravens 2001 level S right there. Like, that's the way that feels.
And it happens.
And it happens. And it happens. But I think the point, and maybe I'm wrong, Glenn, but I think the point he's trying to make is, do you want to see the offense have to go out and put up 31 like in a game just to scratch by and win? And I think
on an off day by the defense where they get, maybe they give up 25. Do you want to see a game before the playoffs?
Okay, so here's my counter
that the offense has to score.
Here's my counter to that. Those 2 losses came very early in the season, and again, these are somebody was it you, Andrew, that mentioned this is still 9 games in with a new offensive coordinator.
Yeah.
So they're and while the offensive coordinator is not the issue for the Steelers lost, because obviously that was the drop situation. Sometimes you need games like that to humble you and to say, I'm not in a position to be, what I did is not good enough, and I have to get back to the drawing board and be better. And so while those losses sting because the Ravens obviously were their own worst enemies and not the other team, sometimes those types of games are the games that you need to put yourself in check. And I think that the Ravens offensively has done a good job since the Steelers loss in terms of moving the football. The Titans game, we can sit here and say, okay, that's a game where they moved the ball, but then every time they would get into the red zone, it felt like they were getting field goals and not touchdowns. So I could use that game as an argument, right? But ultimately, I think that when you have so many different parts, and I think that most people think that, oh, by now everything should be figured out. It doesn't work that way. And Glenn, you and I had this conversation, and I had this conversation on the Winning Drive podcast too. I always felt like this offense was going to be a work in progress in the first 8 or 9 games because it doesn't happen overnight. We don't snap our fingers and it just works. You know what I'm saying? It's something that has to progress. And sometimes you need adversity like the Steelers game where you had all of these drops that would have led to touchdowns to say, how do I fix those problems and not deal with that moving forward? And I feel the Ravens have done a good enough job from here on out where they can complement their defense and say, I'm going to put points on the board. I don't need help. This is not 2004, 2003, 2005 Ravens where they needed the defense to lift them up. I think that this offense is a good complement to what this defense does, and they're good enough where they can essentially win football games against really good teams. I think that their biggest issue is that they play down against their opponent, and to me that's an internal thing, and they just have to work on that. But that's where I stand with this offense. I think that they're good enough that they can be able to, if the defense is not having a good day, I think that there's so many good parts of this team, and that includes the offensive line. Who, look, Ronnie Stanley is not playing that well. John Simpson is not playing that well. But ultimately, I think that the skill players are playing well enough that you can make enough plays to find a way to win football games. And that's just personally how I feel about this offense.
I think all of that is completely fair, right? And I think that this is almost like an esoteric argument, right? Like, I think what I'm saying is I think we'd all, for our own edification, like to have seen them won a shootout so we could file that away. Like, they've won in this form, they've won in this form.
You wanted to be close.
But in some bizarro world, you would like to see them, in the final 2 minutes of the game, Lamar have to go march this team down the field, them look comfortable, them look perfect, execute a 2-minute offense and say, look, they can win in dominant fashion. They can win when they got to put, like, it's just one more box that you're checking about something that you have seen from this team. To your point, I'd definitely rather they just win every game by 4 touchdowns and never be in that spot and march all the way to Las Vegas and never have to think about it, right? Like, that would be a perfect world. In the, bizarro, hey, what happens in this circumstance? I think we have every right to believe this is a functional offense with good playmakers, but they got the ball about 4 times in the Indianapolis game, only needing to score once late in the game, and they didn't do it any of those times. And again,
that was week 3.
I'm with you. I'm not saying that means that's what they would do if it happened again this week. I just think it's something we would like to see, just to file it away, to check the box and say, we've seen them do that too, right? Like, it's a very... It's a very specific argument. It's very specific. It's not, I don't think they can do it. It's just, it would have been nice if they had said, done that too. And we could look back and say, hey, look, when they needed to score with the game on the line in the Pittsburgh game, same thing. They did that. They haven't done that yet this year. And that's just one thing that we're putting aside and saying, hey, that hasn't happened yet. I do think. Yeah.
Glad you finally got me to one. Well, they actually did that in the Pittsburgh game. The coach is just too stupid to take the ball.
Oh, for God's sake.
We got there.
For
God's we got there.
Sake.
There we go.
Oh,
there we
God.
go. Mr. Gonzalez, we know. That's the KZ we know.
Well,
I have to blame myself for that one. I walked right into it. I
You
really did.
You just lobbed it up for me.
That was a layup, dog.
I walked right what the hell just happened? I walked right into allowing him to KZ it. All right. A couple of updates. I don't know if Carson has them ready to go yet or not, but no concerns with Lamar Jackson apparently. And I know that when we say that, everybody will giggle and say, "Where have we heard that before?" But both John Harbaugh says Lamar Jackson is okay, and then Lamar Jackson also said that his ankle was fine after the game. You hope that that is absolutely the case. And it's not. Again, he stayed in the game for a little while until there was no purpose to him being in the game any longer. So I have no reason to think there's more to the story, but I get it. We've been through this before, and so I understand that there will be people that will suggest that maybe there is something more to the story as things move forward. I can't operate with that. Any of the other things, Reeta, we spent a lot of time talking about, are we at the point yet where Justice Hill's role maybe diminishes within this offense, where as that continues, while we're seeing Keaton Mitchell's going one way, the mesh point continues to be an issue with Justice Hill. Are we yet to the point where we think that it starts notably moving forward as far as snaps are concerned? No,
I just how can we not think that at this point? How can we not think that with the game that Keaton Mitchell had today? It is very hard to. And look, I'm gonna say this too, guys. I think that Justice Hill is still going to be an intricate part of this offense. It's not that I think that he's going to be like benched or anything like that. I think that he'll still get carries. I just don't see how that's not going to happen. But Keaton Mitchell comes in, dog, and he literally lights things up. He has I'm trying to get his numbers now, but 9 rushes, 138 yards. He averaged 15.3 yards a carry. And as much as we love Justice Hill, and I think that Justice Hill is shifty, obviously there's been fumble problems in the past, and that's something that I'm sure the Ravens have notified. Then the exchange with him and Lamar, that continues to be a problem. Nobody knows who wants to keep the football. So there's that. And I don't know why they keep trying, because it doesn't work at this point. But ultimately, what Keaton Mitchell has done today, you have no choice but to give him the football more. He has made you make him play more. And if you're the Ravens, you are a fool if you don't get Keaton Mitchell involved into this offense. So while I don't think that Justin Hill is like completely phased out, I think he'll still get carries. What we wanted in terms of a shifty back that was opposite of what Gus Edwards could do, to me right now belongs to Keaton Mitchell, and rightfully so.
I think that's where I'm at, and I hate saying it. I know you love Justice, and I'm not.
I do. But look, what Keaton Mitchell did today, dog. We're not gonna sit here and act like it didn't happen. Like I can, if I wanted to, Glenn, I couldn't act like it didn't happen. I'm sorry.
The Ravens, Reeta, the Ravens didn't act like it didn't happen, because who was the running back when Huntley was back
at the end of the game? Justice Hill was back in the game. At the end of the game.
Okay, Mr. Mitchell. Yep, we got you. Let's put you back in the bubble wrap till next week. And guess what? Justice, let's run out this game. I thought so. That was the big one for me. Like you were in. I was like, okay, well, the game's over. Do they just keep Mitchell in? And they're like, well, no. Justice is going to get the carries in the final 10 minutes. I thought that was they're telling you. They just told you, in my opinion.
Look, I'm not ready to say that it's dramatic yet. I got to see that in order to believe it.
Right. And like, I agree with that.
Ken, I think the point to me would be I would still, given what my options were, be uncomfortable playing Keaton Mitchell next week. Like I would need to see that steady diet if I was a fantasy football player, but I'd sure as hell want him on my team right now. I'd sure as hell want to have him on my roster. I just need 1 week to see it and what that actual split is before I'd be comfortable playing him.
I'm with you. Plus, they play the Cleveland Browns next week, which isn't easy to run against. But I go back, and this is just a fantasy football thing. This is not a Ravens thing. It's sort of a Mitchell thing. But we said all that about A-Chain when he burst on the scene with 4 touchdowns, and everybody was like, well, what do I do the next week? I'm like, well, the Dolphins aren't idiots. You play like they're going to still give him touches, and we'll see if it's real. But if he goes for 2 more and he's on your bench, you're going to be the one that looks foolish. So my risk factor there with the way things go is you've been hanging on to him, or you're going to bid a lot of money for him in fantasy football, play him.
Yeah, I get it.
To me, he's 10 touches plus a week now.
Oh
somehow.
yeah. I mean, I think it'd be silly not to try to figure out ways. Again, until he shows you that he can't handle that, I think it'd be silly to have that skill set, to have that burst, and to not be trying to find more ways to get him on the field. It's nuts. All right, I asked Femi. I'll ask the rest of you. Who's anybody at all apprehensive about what we're seeing from Ronnie Stanley right now?
I'm going to put this in the similar category that I put Justin Tucker at last week. It's just on the watch list. I'm not freaking out. I'm not panicking. He's still a really capable, more than capable. I don't even want to limit it to capable. He's a more than capable player, but we're starting to see a little bit of signs of perhaps a problem down the road that may need to be addressed.
Okay. I think that's fair. Anybody else?
I agree. I agree with that. I mean, look, you can't ignore injuries happen eventually. And maybe you're starting to see that. I'm not overly, concerned, but I think Andrew said it well. He's on the watch list.
Okay. I'm good with that.
Okay.
Reeta?
Okay. On the watch.
All right, then we're across the board. I think it'd be unfair to say I think they're better when he's on the field. I still feel that way, but it's more noticeable than it's ever been before for a stretch of time that he maybe isn't as purely dominant as we've said when he's been on the field. He's been a bit more susceptible than anything we had noticed before. Weird that 2 times today Rashad Bateman was wide open downfield and Lamar overthrew him both times. I don't know if that's just a weird thing between the two of them, but maybe that slow start offensively, we don't even notice if Lamar just connects with Rashad Bateman when he's wide open downfield. I don't know how to react to it because I'm not going to panic about it. It's a shame for Rashad Bateman, who was open, got himself open on both occurrences and just didn't get the delivery from it. But weird that it worked out twice that way.
Yeah, but I think it's also, something that we have to acknowledge too. Lamar ain't that accurate when it comes to passes 20 plus yards. That's something that he still is working on. So while I agree with you, Glenn, okay, Rashad's open. I do understand that that's probably one of Lamar's weaknesses that he's probably still working on. And I'm not mad that they made the attempts by any means. I want to be clear. I'm just also, when it's not incomplete, when it's not complete, I'm not feeling I'm not feeling a whole lot about it, because that's something that Lamar still has to work on in terms of him being the absolute best quarterback he can be. I think that's one of his small weaknesses that he has, which is connecting down the field at the 20 yards.
I just love that he was open.
Yeah,
I mean, he is. Let's
call it. When Bateman came out,
this is on Lamar. This is Lamar is.
No, I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm just bringing up the other side of it. Yeah, that is Lamar's weakness, the 20-25 yard. He probably throws the deep ball more accurately than he throws that ball. So yeah, no, I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is sort of tongue in cheek, but sort of not, is that, Bateman still has that ability. I think he has that ability, and he's starting to show it week after week that he's that guy that we saw and we were so excited about coming out of college, the contested catches, and that, oh, by the way, he's still a really good route runner and can lose you. That's the fact that I'm happy about at this point, is that I'm seeing guys get open. Yes, we want Lamar to hit the guys when they're open. I'm 100%. But the fact that those guys are getting open now, it's something on tape that Cleveland now has to worry about. You see those 2 plays? Yeah, Lamar overthrew him, but how'd he get wide open?
Yep.
It's just something else on tape that teams have to worry about.
I think that's good. I think that Rashad Bateman's had stacked a couple of good weeks now. I think that after that Pittsburgh thing, it's been a couple of really good weeks for Rashad Bateman, even if it's not showing up explosively statistically. I think obviously the thing against Arizona last week where he stole away an interception and turned it into completion was awesome. but I think he's played some pretty good football the last couple of weeks, and I think that's a good thing. All right, anybody else have anything else they want to get off their chest?
I just going back to the offense thing. I went and looked it up. There's only been 2 games this season of the 9 where they have not turned the ball over at least once. That's something that I think needs to be cleaned up, like in the long run. The Odell one today, you mentioned earlier, it was inexcusable. I'm glad he came back and got the touchdown. But I even sent a tweet out, like, if you want to come to a team like this and like be that veteran dude, that presence in the locker room, and like you cannot make plays like that. And like, I'm not saying he had a bad game or anything, but that was just a mistake. The mesh point thing, that's the one part that I'm like, if they can fix that, I don't care if the offense isn't putting up 35 a game, like put up 20, 21 points a game. You're fine by me. Just clean up the turnovers, because those are super self-inflicted and super frustrating.
I don't disagree with that. I think all that's fair. We can only say it so many times with the Odell thing. Like, he's Odell Beckham. I'm not going to lose my mind about it. But like, in the same way, it's almost like I'm losing my mind about it because he's Odell Beckham. Like, really, dude,
like, don't be that guy.
You're the one doing that.
There are plenty of other candidates on this wide receiver group to be that guy. He doesn't need to be that guy.
Oh my God, right? I can't believe it's John Proctor trying to come in and hang out and say hello.
As I live and breathe.
Wow. John Proctor squeezing in just before the horn. What's going on, buddy? How are you?
How's it going, guys?
Did you just come in here to congratulate me on a 6-1 start in picks this week? Is that the reason why you're here?
No. I was just watching the game, and we took a walk afterwards, but it's cool in the basement, so let me just.
Oh, he's John's fantasying up right now at the moment.
Yeah, right.
John's won our fantasy league. John's won our fantasy league 5 times, so he has an SNL 5-timers jacket that he had made for himself, and he feels very good about himself because of it. He's a son of a bitch. I don't even know. I think are we playing each other in the PressBox league this week? Is that
PressBox league? I'm terrible this year.
Yeah, you think you have one? You think you have one?
Who's the musical guest this weekend? You're hosting, I see.
Right.
Who are you introing?
I was just going to talk about the defensive MVP for the Ravens this year, Geno Stone, and did you hear his new nickname?
Oh yeah, baby.
What's his nickname?
Kidney. Geno.
Oh, you son of a bitch! I was in the emergency room, you a-hole. I spent my day in the hospital yesterday, and you're coming in here with that? Is that really what you're coming in here with today?
Yeah.
God,
that was well done.
Yeah.
That was Forrester level trolling right there.
Got some kidney stones, Rita. That's what
I know that feeling.
Yeah, it sucks.
It sucks. I would love to make a joke about it, and I'll leave that to John. But as somebody that's had them, nope.
Yeah,
nope.
just
Glenn,
don't do it.
Don't
do it.
Not gonna make a joke about it.
Glenn,
Don't
here's
do
my
it.
question. You, like I do currently, used to live in Arizona. Did you not learn when you lived in Arizona
to drink
plenty
water,
of water all the time, even when you're not in Arizona? You need to hydrate your body, my friend.
God, I got it. It's during the day. It really is. Like at night, I'm fine. During the day,
hydrate.
I gotta drink more water. Rita, wait a second. Rita, you've had kidney stones?
Yes, and it's not fun.
Okay, and you've been through childbirth, obviously.
I was getting ready to say, I mean, it's not anywhere close to childbirth, but it is.
Well, all right.
It's a couple tiers down, so it's very painful. I do understand your pain.
All right. Yeah, it sucks. Second time in my life, I ended up in the emergency room yesterday.
Yeah.
Due to the old kidney stones. I did have the lady at the ER said, we had a guy in here last week who was an Army vet who told us he had been shot in the back once. And he said that was less painful than going through the kidney stone.
It's bad. Yeah.
I said, yeah. That's cool. Very cool. Well, Proctor, great to see you. Thanks for stopping by. That was just go F yourself. Really, it's how I feel about that. Real quick, since we're talking about picks, right now, Superbook, the number for tonight, Cincinnati -1.5. Tomorrow night, the Chargers -3.5 against the Jets. Ooh, I don't know. I might be tempted to throw a few bucks New York's way in that one. Every time you think
wait. Where is it? At home or
it's
away?
in New York. It's in New York.
I don't know. I'm with you, Glenn.
Yeah, 3.5 points to play with. I might toss a couple of shekels on New York right there. Use the code GlennClark23 when you sign up at Superbook, and you will receive up to $250 in a same-day first bet match, win or lose. Again, Superbook.com or the Superbook app. I'm going to plug nothing for John Proctor because he's a son of a bitch. I'm going to. KZ threatening to join Femi and I next Sunday at Towson for our big Veterans Day show.
KZ, you have to do it for me because I won't be there. I will be watching Florida lose to LSU, so you got to go.
I'm gonna try to make it work.
I hope you will.
I think my schedule's pretty clear.
I hope you'll come out. We will be doing, Femi and I will be live from the Student Union at Towson as they're hosting a big Veterans Day celebration. So you can come out, meet Femi, and, laugh at me, whatever you want to do. Offer me a water, something like that, as we will be out at Towson next Sunday. Rita, you and I, of course, will be at Guilford Hall Brewery on Tuesday night.
I was there this morning, by the way. I was there for brunch this morning. And I was like, I own this place. I was lying, obviously. I was like, we'll be back here for, the Tyus show. So I'm excited to be back. I love that place. So it should be a good time.
Tuesday night, Guilford Hall Brewery. Come join us, Tyus, and a special guest. Find out more, PressBoxOnline.com/Bowser. And then Rita and I will be back together in studio on Wednesday night on 105.7 The Fan from 7 to 9. So come hang out with us there as well. All right, gang. Appreciate it. It's nice when we can nitpick and complain about the fact that the team is too good.
Even KZ ain't even get to complain about Harbaugh today, and
he had to go back.
I got one in. I got one in.
Yeah, but he had to go back a month in order to get a complaint in. I would love. Please try to fire the coach today, Ken. Please.
No, I can't. So here's the thing. I didn't, and I told this to Glenn and Andrew. I was out all day. I did not pick up the game until right before Mitchell's 60-yard run.
Okay? Oh, you picked a good time to tune in. I guess.
It's literally the third play I saw today. So I can't really go hard on anything or any mistakes that may have been made in the first quarter while they were struggling a little bit. I just couldn't do it. It's not fair for me to do it.
All right. Ken will be back to himself, I'm sure, next Sunday. I'm sure he'll be right back. And that's why I look forward to having him there with Femi so that Femi can strangle him right on scene as we celebrate Veterans Day over at Towson with a live murder right there. I think that'll be a really appropriate way to go about doing it. All right, gang. Appreciate it. Thanks to AJ Michaels. Thanks to helpmygamblingproblem.org. Thanks to Superbook Sports. Thanks to Carson. Appreciate you guys. We will see you next Sunday following Ravens-Browns for the next Project